So let's get it started. This is the third video that us guys have done. It's the first time Mitesh has joined the call. We got Mitesh. I'm not going to point because it's going to change the windows. And we got Joel in Texas. Mitesh, you're in Birmingham, right?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Wicked. So on topic with everything that's going on at the moment, we had a discussion on topics and stuff that we wanted to do. And we thought it was a good time now more than any to talk about sort of the quarantine pandemic that's going on at the moment, how it's affecting manufacturing, sales, smaller businesses around the world, and the resale market as well, which we didn't talk about prior to this, so that would be pretty interesting to hear. I don't know about you guys, have you noticed anything sort of like at the moment within sort of like manufacturing? Have you heard any like big stories on companies having to shut? I know Nike have shut a few warehouses. I haven't heard myself on any sort of like the actual manufacturing plants that they've got around the world closing at all, or?
No, I mean, the only thing that, as you mentioned, is Nike, where they've had some sort of COVID outbreak in one of their warehouses and they had to shut it down.
Yeah. What about you, Joel? Have you? What's it like over there in the news with sort of like manufacturing companies closing around?
To be honest, like a lot of the news is more just kind of focused on the really kind of key core principle things like healthcare. So they've not really been into any sort of news on it. Everything I've looked into, there's been news around businesses staying open or shutting. A little bit less of the manufacturing side.
So I guess it's the same with like a lot of larger businesses, smaller businesses too, especially over here having to shut down to them also not being able to get the materials that they need to make the shoes. I can imagine Nike, Adidas, the big players, Puma, Asics and all that have got stockpiles of this stuff in secret bunkers around the world for something that was going to happen like this. So I guess at the moment, in regards to sort of like manufacturing, I know that Nike have pushed back a few products. I was watching a YouTube video. I think it was Seth Fowler today. I don't know if anybody else watched that on those V3s that he did about how Adidas just seemed to be sort of pumping out their shoes as normal at the moment. You haven't seen anybody say, I'm going to delay like a Yeezy shoe or a 4D shoe. And there was a topic around he spoke about, is that down to maybe Nike saying, I'm going to push this shoe back because I want to promote it better than we can just put it out on the market. Sales will increase if we can put more PR into this, sort of like more advertisement, media input more than usual. I don't know what you guys think thoughts on that are. Or
I would assume, being the size they are, that would more be a logistics thing around making sure they get the promotions right, as you said, rather than them actually sitting around there not having the core materials to use. Having a quick read before the call, and I think 6 Jordans since the beginning of March or around there have all been pushed back, including the Dior's, which Nike probably had penciled in as the big hype piece for the year. Seeing that many being pushed back, I would say there's an overarching strategy of some description, which we assume is probably more around the promotional side.
Yeah, I can imagine that with the Dior's, sort of like they're going to want big events and stuff like that, which I can imagine they still want to go ahead. It won't just be the shoes that they want to sell, it'll be everything else. Promoting Nike as a company, and I don't think there's any rush for them to do it now.
And got to Rich about saying them having spare materials lying around. They've obviously got big warehouses and stuff. I've actually had a few conversations with other sneakerheads in the past where they're trying to rationalize use of different colors and materials, and you do hear people say constantly, "What do they just find a spare bag of these lying around in the factory, and they've just to slap them on?"
So I know that I obviously ID'd about 100 pairs of Air Force One recently, and they ran out the first time, and this was before all of this kicked off earlier on in the year. But my best mate, I mention him every fucking week. I should get him on. He ID'd a pair of 90s. It was that like that. I don't know if you remember it. They had like a retro sort of old school patterns on it. They were like neon. I think it was about 2 months ago they did it. I don't know if you remember them. Loads of people started putting up about 90s that they'd done. These crazy like materials they use, like neon colours and stuff like that. He's still waiting for his, and that was like must be nearly 8 weeks ago, and they were struggling with materials like at least a couple of weeks ago with it, but I've no idea.
They take a while to do ID at the best of times, so this isn't help.
Yeah, so I was looking in. So those are sort of like the big players. You've got your Nike, Adidas, your Puma, and all that. I was looking into some of the smaller stuff, sort of like looking at like Diadora and stuff. And I know they're probably going to struggle a little bit more than the big boys. I'm not calling them not a big boy, but they seem to. I mean, looking over their sort of based in Italy, I know that they teamed up with, I think it's, and I might be pronouncing this wrong, Geo. They actually invested a lot of money together. I think they donated 1 million euros, was it each or together, to just a certain region in Italy to help out. So I guess times are hard for them, but they've still got the financial aspect. I have no idea if they've had to shut I can imagine they've had to shut all of their stores. Like most of Europe at the moment seems to have shut down completely. And I know I've got friends in France that have to have like printed forms with them and everything to go anywhere. I have no idea within Europe if sort of like manufacturing plants have stopped. Hummel & Hummel is a big one that we're all a fan of, that produce Sombra, Ruse and Hummel shoes as well. So I have no idea. I had a look briefly earlier and I couldn't see any feedback on any of those sort of like stores suffering from it all at all, or I don't know.
I'll say if you think of like the typically handmade Italian pairs, and I think Mitesh will probably know better than me, but the general line being sort of 300 to 500 actual pairs made for each colorway. I think if you're hand producing a product in Europe and you're only making say maximum 500, and you think of that version in Nike where it's not handmade, they're making 150,000 sometimes with machines. It's pretty clear which of the two of those examples are going to suffer quicker in this kind of system.
No, I totally I agree with that. I can imagine probably their struggle with European laws and stuff like that is a little bit more than where the plants are that are making these Nike shoes and stuff like that. I mean, I can't comment on too much. I don't really know the insides and out.
The shutdown in Italy is obviously a lot stricter than here, isn't it? It's like, as you say, it's like a note to go outside. Yeah. And would those people be considered key workers? Probably not.
No, and it just makes you think how were these companies prepared for it before it happened? I know you've got the handmade Diadoras in Italy, their line. Are the non-handmade sort of like their, I don't like to say every brand's got it, but their basic line. Are they made in Italy as well, or?
No, they're like Vietnam and China, aren't they?
Oh, are they as well?
All the collabs are normally right? All the collabs are normally made in Italy.
Yeah, I think New Balance are the same, having outsourced their no frills line, as I call it. So where do you see it sort of like? Where do you see it going from here? Because I mean, over in England especially, I don't think we've hit a peak yet.
No. It's going to be a long road, isn't it? A long road back to normality.
Yeah.
It's going to be like.
I'm just trying to think of. I'm trying to think of production over here. We haven't got. I think Reebok was one of them, but that's no longer. I think that's all outsourced now. New Balance.
New Balance. Flimby, isn't it?
I guess a lot of them. You got a lot of European based as well for the, like you say, the big sort of like collabs that we all seem to collect, like the 2 boxes on your desk there. I I don't know if they're going to sort of like slow down. I mean, Rue's brought out that latest pair with, I think it was the mining company.
Yeah. That was before, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm thinking that sort of like just finish off. I don't know if they're going to slow down. I also, maybe another conversation for another time, but looking into, it's quite easy to look up like the big companies and see who they're associated with, what they're outsourced with, sort of like with, like we said about like Foot Locker and stuff like that. But I don't know who owns these smaller, sort of more independent brands, what ties they've got in with other companies that can keep them afloat above this all.
Most times, the feeling you get with Nike is it's about margin. I don't want to like cast aspersions on them, but that's definitely the vibe that you get when you kind of look at these things.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess we don't want to keep on going on about sort of like the big brands so much, but I know that Nike are going to be absolutely fine because they've got so much money tied in with so many other companies. I was speaking about the consumer direct. They called it the consumer direct offence that they took in 2017, and they laid off loads of staff and it put loads of money onto their sort of like online campaign, which I think it's going to absolutely save them for God of money. I think Adidas were talking about a €1 billion sort of at the beginning of March. That's what they were expecting to lose over this. I don't know what their
okay.
I don't know what their sort of like online campaign is really. Adidas have obviously got Reebok. I can't say I've ever really visited the Reebok, maybe for the odd shoe, the odd collab, but I don't know. I know Nike was saying that in China, because China closed everything first, and I think 80% of their stores have now reopened, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's mad.
And that the sales are already on the bounce back, and China have like a sort of like I think it's Nike managed to post a 5% revenue growth in its financial third quarter, despite of nearly every store that sells merchandise in China being closed, which is crazy.
It shows the power of like cleaning cities, which is what the strategy that's been taken. Can't speak for any other countries, but I know in the US and the southern states that's not happening at the moment.
Yeah. Obviously, I wanted to share that story of the of Nike Adidas taking advantage of that suspended rental payments and then Parliament kicking off and burning their shirts. That was in the Financial Times if anybody wants to look that up, but they weren't the only ones. It was H&M as well, and a couple of other German brands that took advantage of this, so they didn't have to pay rent from April to June, and Adidas were like, I have a bit of that. Going on from that, online retailers everywhere seems to have a discount at the moment.
Yeah.
Now, people seem to be very 50-50 on. From my point of view, I work with other people as well. Have said I don't want to take advantage of what's going on at the moment, but I feel a lot of them have put these discounts on to try and keep up with the sort of like the monthly income.
I wouldn't imagine they're taking a loss. They're still making probably like a small profit or selling at cost. So in a way, you've got to look at it as helping them out.
Yeah, I wouldn't buying. So go ahead, Rick.
No, yeah, you keep on going. I'll bring it up in a minute.
I was going to say I wouldn't think that buying a heavily discounted pair in a sale where they've put something bigger than normal, like and a fair few emails around 40% off. As Paul says, they're still making profit. It's just trying to increase liquidity and get pairs out of the store. I think a few conversations I've had with fellow sneakerheads has more been around whether they would buy secondary market or whether they're going to really slow down on that front. And I think that's where I didn't respond to any of those emails that came out with the discounts. But I did find myself opening eBay up and looking on GOAT a little bit more often, because I know there's potentially a few more steals around the place.
We'll talk about that in a second. So I know unfortunately we had, I think it was 5 points that closed their doors. Probably the first sort of like independent store in the UK in regards to streetwear that I saw suffer from it the most. I know someone mentioned in the group that we're all in about sort of like cut their losses now before it gets any worse. Hanon, unfortunately, which is probably one of my top 3 stores that I ever visit, even though I remember losing out to a shoe that I really loved from them back in the day, as it used to be. Another store that you don't really think about it on a day-to-day basis of how much sort of like something like this would affect them. Like, it started off with them closing down the stores at front, and then all orders are online, and there was discount codes, and then all of a sudden warehouse has to be shut, no more trading. So it's quite, I don't know if any other stores open at the moment are going to go through that as well. And Foot Patrol, I know they've probably got the financial backing of JD, but I mean, I don't know. We don't even know how long this is going to go on for. So do we expect to see more stores closing their doors, like the smaller? I've got a friend who works at the Hip store up in Leeds. They obviously are trying to utilise social media a lot more at the moment than they would have.
And we've also seen Offspring, one of our kind of favourites in the UK, where the 2.0 Court Purples dropped. The usual strategy which they take, doing the IG raffles, where you kind of you respond to their posts, and they had to, I think, temporarily scrap that while this is going on, and use the bigger Selfridges and their app to actually do the raffle. So it's not just the really smaller kind of boutique places, it's places like Selfridges at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, so we've I guess there's 2 other points on this. One of it is the social media aspect side of it. There's a lot of, as we were just saying about then, sort of like, I think I've seen Offspring do it, Asphalt Golds, a few. They've been doing a lot of sort of like design competitions to try and keep their community sort of like engaged so they don't lose it. I guess they've all had to, they never thought that they were going to be put in this position. I don't think anybody thought they were going to be put in this position. No. Is there anything else you think that they can do to try and keep their their community involved? I quite enjoyed this sort of like this whole sort of like design competitions that they've got going on.
And I would say
more of a normal thing.
The work that Offspring, not to harp on about them too much, but the work that they have done over the last 3 or 4, maybe it's even 4 years now, really around just building up a community. It started out with the whole anti-bot type of view on things, and it's basically escalated into what is now a really big fan base. I think full props to them. The amount of work they've done and the amount of extra effort that they've put in, basically free of charge. If you look at the, financials, in my opinion, if I choose myself as an example, if I was still in the UK, I'd be shopping with them regardless when it comes to these kind of times, as some kind of form of way of paying them back for that. I don't know how many people would feel that, but certainly the way I would take it.
Matesh, what do you think at the moment keeps you engaged with revisiting a store site?
As you say, like experiences from before, like the wins and the engagement with Offspring, and sort of like how they keep it interesting and like keep you valued as a customer.
Yeah.
Keeps you coming back to them.
What about the slightly, I wouldn't call them, because they're all on the same level, but they're up there now with their engagement posts. They've been doing it for a while now. What about your sort of like your Fuse and stuff like that overseas? Is it like they're YouTube? Because I noticed that they've done probably a lot more like YouTube content, or they're all trying to sort of like design competitions. I don't know if there's anything else that keeps you going back to it.
I get involved with some of like their like reposts and things like that, and stuff that they ask, like the questions they ask on their stories. But otherwise, I don't know. It's kind of like much of a muchness, isn't it? I like, as you say, a lot of them are doing that now, so it's kind of like you need to differentiate stuff.
To be frank, a few have got great product, the whole piece. you're going to shop with them because they've got a great product, at least in my opinion. Less so the kind of way they've set up their shop. Maybe it's on IG or Instagram or something. One other thing I would say is that over in Dallas, Sneaker Politics are the only other sneaker store that I would say I would compare to Offspring. They're not at the moment, as far as I can see, doing it quite at that level, but they are very, very kind of consistent on IG and reaching out to people, and they have a lot of community events. You can turn up on a Saturday, but you could spend all Saturday in the store playing games and food and barbecues and stuff. So I think there are a few other businesses that are starting to see the real long-term strategy behind really communicating with your customer base.
Yeah, cool. And probably the last point that we marked up, the resale market. What are your views on it? Have you seen much of an effect from it all, or you were talking about earlier on, Joe, about sort of like revisiting like eBay and StockX more? And
so we all three of us have been having a look at that article on Vogue Business, and it talks a lot about. I think this is more data availability in the secondary market, so it's just easy to access that. And that article talks a lot about there being less revenue per sale, but the actual number of sales is not, it's not a massive decline. It's more about people just buying cheaper product, essentially. And you see that coming through in the Off-White Jordan 5s, which so far, I mean, we're only a quarter and a bit in, but so far this year probably had the most hype about them. And just for a sec, to quote one of the numbers in there, the price is basically cut in half over the past month. And that is just one example of that impact.
Do you think that is the people that are selling these shoes? That you've obviously got the big players that buy multiple pairs, or you get the single guy that buys the one pair. Do you think that that's them sort of panicking, think that they're not going to get rid of it, like they need that money, or?
I think it's probably a combination of some panic buyers and the whole demand and supply piece. If everyone is getting a bit, pulling the strings in on their wallet, and there are no buyers or there are less buyers, it quite frankly almost doesn't matter what the sellers are doing or what they think. There's no one to buy the product. It's gonna have an impact fairly quickly on sales and prices.
Wicked. Well, I think that's some pretty good conversation talking about it. I mean, we don't want to go on about it too much because we probably need to do some more. We'll see where it goes in the next couple of weeks and maybe revisit it. And hopefully no more stores like suffer. We were just going to go over some of the stuff that we got up recently because we thought it was good enough time as ever. I know, Joel, you've got to go off in. When you said last, you've got 20 minutes.
I've got 12, I think.
You've got 12 minutes. Right, you go first. What you got?
So I tried to not buy anything, and I've ended up with 4 pairs during all this. I'll just run through them. So first one.
My boy.
The End Reebok Ventilator Husky. So this was a steal on eBay. It was one of those pairs I, to be honest, didn't really even know about the silhouette until you'd put up a few pairs, and we posted a few pairs on, or at least one pair on our IG, which I then, I saw the silhouette, started doing a bit of research, and I now have 3 or 4 pairs on my wanted list. So that was the first one. Lovely. I don't know if you can see the length of the suede on the box.
Yeah. Is that suede green?
Great.
Definitely grey, that one.
I'm not starting that conversation.
So you have those. So I also picked up I want to say Giallo.
Tess, what's your views on that? Is that exactly what you would pronounce it with?
Yeah, Giallo, yeah. I'd say Giallo.
Just make it sound as Italian as possible. And then. So you have these N9000s with extra butter. Nice little hang tag there. So yeah, there's these are just amazing. We were talking about these before we came online. I've been looking at them kind of on and off on eBay and a bunch of different platforms for a while. You can just see the extra butter stamp at the back there. And yeah, I just basically saw a price that I just couldn't not go grab those. Mentioned Sneaker Politics earlier. That just came in 20 minutes before the call. These guys. So these are from Politics 30th anniversary, which is great.
When's the worldwide release on those ones?
17th, I think.
17th, yeah.
17th.
Why did they get them early?
I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue. I've been wondering the same. I actually spoke to them. I phoned them up a few days ago because they went in stock. They had a full-size run for a few minutes and then it sold out. And then my size popped back up about 3 days later. In the meantime, I phoned them to see what was happening because they service all of offline through their 4 or 5 stores. We mentioned earlier, and I compared them in a way to Offspring. So randomly, no advance warning, they just bunged a pair of their socks in the box, but at no cost. And I think little things like that. There's a bunch of stickers in there as well, but a small thing can go a big way on that. And then the final pair, 2016 Jordan. So very different to the 3 that I've shown so far. Very simple, kind of pretty smart Jordan. Just one of the pairs that, for me, retail was way too high. I waited for them to come down and I picked them up for a fraction of the retail price. So you got those. That's the 4th pair.
Very nice. Did those 3s make it into the wheel?
Yes. Yeah, I was waiting for them to come through before I did the wheel.
Nice. And how many pairs is that of 3s?
God, I lost count.
Don't tell me you don't know.
It starts with 3.
It's got to be in a list somewhere, surely.
Probably on multiple lists.
Right. What about you, Matex? What you got sitting there?
Okay. Here on my left. First up. Hanon Asics Solstice. A pair we've been after for a while.
When did you get them?
When?
Yeah.
A few days ago. It came at the weekend. Yeah, so pretty recent.
I don't know if I missed the conversations about them, or did you let it known that you were going to get them?
Yeah. I picked up on off of Facebook group. It's I've been after for a while. I'm collecting the 30th anniversary.
What's the suede like on them?
Really nice. These are known for fading really quickly.
Yeah.
But these seem like pretty decent condition so far, so happy with them.
Yeah, very nice. They're awesome.
And
I thought you were going to get. Was there a special edition box of the?
No, there wasn't. They just came with a little. They haven't got a big poster, but they just got this little poster with them. Yeah, nothing special. And then a pair of Jordans, which I know Joel's quite excited for. Purple Court 2.0s, which are decent as well. As we said before, it's a lot darker than I would have expected in real life, but they're still really nice. Worth a pickup.
I'm still a fan of the 1.0s, but I don't know. Now that I know that purple's darker, I'm a little bit more open to them. I thought the purple in the photos, the release photos, looked a lot lighter than that, but they are nice. I can't, what we like for a purple sneaker.
You love purple, don't you?
Yeah, purple. Talking of a purple sneaker.
Yeah, the ultimate purple sneaker from my point of view. The box gives it away.
Not only a purple sneaker, the purple sneaker.
The purple sneaker.
I don't even want to watch you open this.
Yeah, these. Purple tapes. I'd say probably one of the top 3D Adoras of all time, in my opinion.
It's probably, I would say, my favourite.
Yeah.
Ever.
I mean, they look simple, as in kind of first, if you don't know what they were, but it's just loads of shades of purple, pink and stuff going on.
I'd love to get the jacket.
The tape sort of thing going on.
I'd love to get the jacket that came with that.
Yeah, and the CD and stuff like that. Eventually, hopefully I'll get it, but...
It was, I think it's just one of those stories of a shoe that it's legendary status now. I love that shoe.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to get one day. Keep an eye out. We'll keep an eye out for you.
How long you got, Joel, before I can quickly rush through my...
5 minutes.
Right, I got 5 minutes. Here we go. Right, number one. This shoe had a bullet in it.
Amazing.
Which I still find the glory holes. Oh, wait a minute. I probably only... I was like... You know how excited I was opening this shoe. I'm not even going to get the box out with all the... I think half the time with Ruse is like how good the box is and just everything about
What drew you most to them?
I mean, I love the collaboration. I've no idea really. I think maybe a little bit of it was the love of the Kid Robot. And then you had the Sombra more recently, obviously. What's the... I forget what it's called.
Tetrick or something like that.
Something like that. I just think it's a classic colourway. And
yeah.
You know how I love when you're going to buy a collaboration with them. How good. There's the bullet.
That is a bit special.
It's crazy. I
remember, Rich, when you
put up some emotional opening that and some lace ropes. But and there you go.
Remember when you put up a picture on you first picked them up, and I remember losing count of the additional bits that came with them.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. The other one, which I went over a couple of weeks ago anyway, the OG, talking about the purple tapes, probably I'd say OG of that, purple tapes are probably in my top 5 ever sort of like list of having. So having them is pretty amazing. Almost can't compare them to the originals, but because you'll always pick apart them saying that you just prefer them to have black mesh, but I think they've done a really good job. The material is awesome, and they fit perfect as well. Whereas some of the previous releases,
I think they're different enough, aren't they? Different enough to the originals. So.
And then the thing that looks like the thing out of Stranger Things, the most comfortable shoe I've ever put on in my life. I went down Primark and picked this up earlier for a month. The 380. I absolutely rinsed this shoe when it came out, and I'm still not saying you can't compare that shoe and that shoe together.
No.
I'll be straight, but it is probably the most comfiest shoe, and I've worn it since I got it yesterday, 2 days straight. So I am enjoying it. I'm to no illusion that there are different levels of shoes, but I'm really.
What do they like to wear?
You know when you wear the Ultra Boost?
Yeah.
And you get that. I've probably got a few pairs down here.
Like wearing 2 pairs.
You get that you get a squish, but you put that on, and it's ridiculous. It is just your whole foot sinks as well, and where that is shaped at an angle, it's very much got that sort of I guess what Nike have started doing with their sort of like runner line, where you do that forward motion. But
Rich,
I do think it's awesome. But
do you feel like you're on your tippy toes a bit? Because the back half of the midsole is so much thicker.
Yeah.
No, I don't think you do really. It's strange. It's a strange one. I'm still getting used to it. I haven't got really a lot more to say on it, but you know how much I love Kanye as well, so we're just going to go with it. And that is it really. I've got some IDs, obviously. I ordered them way before the whole thing kicked off, but I got every colour of the sun of the Air Force One Premium Suede, which are all up. If I move it up there somewhere. But all is good. Cool. I think that's awesome. It's been really good. And we shall try and do. I don't know what we're going to go with next. Lots of stuff to talk about at the moment. So
yeah.
And try and get some. I know there's a couple of people to get involved as well. What day are we today? Thursday. So we've got the last post from SJW coming tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we've got that going on, and we'll hit all the links up and put them in the bio. And yeah, cool, wicked. Cheers, guys.
Okay.
Catch up soon.
Right. Speaking very